Thank you. Okay, the whole row is empty in the front. So I hope there's enough space in the back, and a happy Labour Day to all of you. And so indeed, it's a very special time of the year because a lot of exciting things are happening around us, I think. So today's talk is on overcoming the pains of letting go, and the reason why I chose this topic is in the practice of Buddhism or Dhamma for many of us, we have had no choice but to learn to let go. And the path of letting go has indicated to us that much happiness is found when we know how to let go. But that's not to say that it's not a painful process, right? Especially now that I'm a mother of growing up teenagers, I think I have come to empathize more with mothers of older children on how painful it is to manage teenagers. How many of you agree with that statement? So we all have common pains. First of all, let me just start off by reading a passage from Ajahn Chah's Still Forest Pool. It's called Real Love. Real love is wisdom. What most people think of as love is just an impermanent feeling. If you have a nice taste every day, you will soon get tired of it. In the same way, such love eventually turns into hatred and sorrow. Such worldly happiness involves clinging and is always tied up with suffering, which comes like the policeman following the thief. Nevertheless, we cannot suppress nor forbid such feelings. We just should not cling to or identify with them, but should know them for what they are. Then Dhamma, or the truth, is present. One loves another, yet eventually the beloved leaves or dies. To lament and think longingly, grasping after what which has changed, is suffering, not love. When we're at one with this truth and no longer need or desire, wisdom and the real love that transcends desire fill our world. Now the passage is very deep in meaning. It's indeed revealing the truth and the nature of the world. As long as we cling, as long as we grasp, which is what the second noble truth is, the cause of our pain in life is due to craving, to wanting. But then one might ask, well, what's wrong with that? I mean, isn't the world all about wanting things and craving for things? And that's why in Buddhism we talk about practice of contentment. And it's often misunderstood or misinterpreted that practicing of contentment means no need to do anything. Switch off. Just be happy with what you have. No need to work hard anymore. But that's not the right interpretation. Because even letting go requires effort. It's the right effort in the path that removes the pain from dealing with change. Now, many of you are working as professionals. And we know in the work life today, it's no longer the old days. You join a company and you stay there for 35 years and you retire from there. Those days are gone. And those companies no longer exist. They once existed perhaps, but not with globalization, not with the desire of shareholders wanting maximization of their investment. That means no company today can tolerate inefficiency, can tolerate lack of productivity or non-optimized productivity. So which means all of us at work, whatever we've done in the last 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, is no longer relevant if we're not changing with the new defined goals of the organization. If the company says our focus now is in this area, a new area, our KPIs are now different. Key performance indicators are redefined. The job scope is going to change. You're going to have to learn new things. You're going to have to learn more things. I come from the IT industry. 25 years ago, the promise of IT was to make your job more efficient so that you have more time to service customers. It was a false promise. When you have more time means you will get more work. Like now I carry this iPad. I have 3 sets of emails on this iPad. It's crazy, right? I don't know why I put myself through all this stress. But today's expectations have changed. If you don't respond quick enough, then they say, you're too slow. It must be your age. Even when BF Exco writes to me, I have to respond. And it's only voluntary work. Why are you not reading your emails? Why are you not replying? Why are you not reading attachments? When I was using an iPhone, it's almost impossible to read attachment unless you want to get a headache. And, people expect speed today. So when you can no longer keep up with the pace of change, the company now views you as you can't keep up with change, the new requirements of the company. You're no longer in the top tier of talent. That's scary, isn't it? Especially those who are high achievers. It's a very scary thought that you were once in this list called valued talent or even high potential. Then after a few years, some years, then you just drop out of that list. When you drop out of that list and you happen to know it, that also takes letting go. That means you have now realized that you're no longer in the talent management pool. Or how does HR or your bosses classify you? That you are now in the pool of talent to be managed out. HR has all these different lists. Sometimes better not to know which list you're in. Or you are now in the list of above 50s. Oh, how about above 60s? Re-employment back. One level lower, less benefits, lower salary. But you know what? Same job. Low salary, less pay, less holiday, same job. So that's why there's all discussion again, right? It's not fair. How come? You give me the same job and less of everything else. So even in companies as we work, we see young people coming in. We look at them as threats. Because paid half the salary, they're doing maybe not half our job. And one day they're going to catch up and can take over our job. Maybe they take over more than our job, plus somebody else's job. These are all very scary thoughts as you're getting older. And this is the need for us to be realistic that we're no longer as young as we used to be. As seen as a talent, as seen as the up and coming. For some of us, we are heading towards the history books of the company. And is letting go that easy? No. Actually, it's not. It takes effort. It takes wisdom. So, in terms of workplace, you've got to move with the times. There is no point resisting change in the company because we will only make ourselves obsolete, irrelevant, no longer required, and possibly be put in a list of to be managed out or cold storaged. Yeah, maybe work cold storage, real cold storage. So let's move with the times because it's important. And we've got to let go the glory of the past. Because whatever you've done the last 10, 20 years, that's it. You've really been paid for it. You've been given the bonus for it. It's no longer now to be considered. Because every year it's like your P&L. It starts from zero. For the next 12 months is what you're going to prove again, what you're able to contribute. So let me switch mode now to family environment. Our parents. Some of us still have parents. Some of us lost our parents. And then plus we have children. And I think most of us would agree that the way our children grow up and respond to us is very different from how we responded to our parents. The way our kids talk to us, if we did the same in the past, probably get too tight slapped. Is that true? Because the confidence level of children today is just so different from how we were. And this has very much been attributed to the fact that they've got far more information than we've had when we were young. The only bits of information we got were from books that we get access to, and even then books were not abundant. You couldn't walk into a national library and see this rows and rows of books. We're lucky if we have a library in school. And they had actually interesting books that we wanted to read. Not the books that they wanted us to read, but what we wanted to read. And of course now with technology, most of our kids don't even need to be educated in sex education. If you don't believe, go back and ask your kid. If they've never ever seen a porn site. I think just as what every kid has, quietly, secretly. And the types of shows they watch on TV. How many channels did we have? And for some of us, it's quite telling of age. It was black and white. Today, if you're black and white, it's considered sepia. The name is sepia. And it's called trendy. Because it makes it look old. But in the old days, there was no color in our television, right? And when it was color, we were like, wow. So today they've got, 20 channels? And sometimes they're not even bothered. They go YouTube. They watch whatever they want. Yesterday I went on YouTube. It's quite amazing what you get on there, just for anything and everything. Yeah, so the kind of information and knowledge they have far exceeds what we had when we were young. Not only that, it could even be exceeding the knowledge we have in certain areas. Because just the amount of exposure they get. So we can no longer communicate to them like just parent and child like our parents did. And so we have to now go through a learning process on how to communicate with our children. And we don't even have a guidebook. Any one of you got a guidebook? Please lend me one. We don't, right? So we all learn through trial and error. And even with our children, we also have to learn to let go. What's the best age of kids? What's your view? What's the best age? Below 5. At least they listen, right? Anyone else got a different answer? What about to a father? What's the best age? Below 5 also. So all this talk about I have kids, they bring you joy. All those who have children below 5, please raise your hand, they bring you joy. How come nobody? It's very scary. How many of you agree? Children bring you joy. Raise your hand. A few. Very good. But do they also bring you grief? Yes. So it's a mixture, isn't it? There's a lot of effort and pain into it to get those pearls of joy. And as we see them grow older, we realize we're going to have to learn to let go more. Because eventually, they're going to go off to university or polytechnic or wherever, to national service. And actually, mothers worry a whole lot more than fathers. That's why mothers carry bags this size. It just occurred to me, this must be a revelation or a sign of the kind of baggage I have in my life. So the smaller the bags must be an indication that you have smaller baggage. So I think one of my aims in life is to reduce the size of my bag. So I don't know what rubbish I have inside. It's always so heavy as well. Men are great. They just carry in their pockets. So it must indicate the only thing they have to worry about is bringing enough money home. Right? Well, the woman must have tissue paper, in case people need, must have hairbrush in case we look not good enough or your daughter wants to borrow. All sorts of rubbish. Agree? And nowadays, it's not like in the past where a family grows up all together. Because when they go off for studies, especially when you send them overseas, they might not come back. All 4 of us children in my family never went back to Malaysia. But that's also because, as far as my father is concerned, there is no future there. So all of you leave the country and go find a new home. So mine was in Singapore. And my 3 siblings immigrated to Australia. But what this means is that the contact time, the closeness between the children and the parents will reduce over time. So now my mother lives with me, but she hardly sees the other children. And I wonder sometimes the kind of pain she must feel. In the old days, or people that generation hardly expressed themselves. And maybe all that pain she just keeps inside. Now what really surprises me was when my aunt told me that whenever she was going to Nepal or going to a temple, my mother would always say to her, "Can you dedicate some prayers, please, to the one who has passed away?" There are actually 5 of us in the family as children. 1 didn't make it. She passed away at the age of 3 to 4. She died of bronchitis. And my mother wasn't there with her most of the time because my parents were working in KL and the children were left in Ipoh to be cared for by the grandmother. But I think she was there when she passed away, but she was hardly there as a mother. And I would say till today, she must be living with the guilt. For she has 5 children, and the one she remembers most dearly in her heart but doesn't talk about. It's the one that's no longer or hasn't been around for the last 50 years or more. And that taught me something. That in our lives, our mind is so predispositioned to always miss what is not there. Instead of finding joy and happiness in the 4 children that she has, is dealing with the regret and guilt of the one who hasn't been here. Which made me understand why I always wanted to leave for overseas when I was a kid. I told you my 3 siblings they're older than me, they went to Australia. My brother left when he was 12. I was younger than him by 5 years. And I used to wait impatiently for my turn to leave. Wow, 12, and I also get to go. Quite stupidly, right? Because what's the point of going? You've got to look after myself, you know. I would have to do my own laundry, fend for myself, rather than being in a home that everything is taken care of. My dad even had 3 maids at home. So having 1 maid now, it pales in comparison to what he had. But then he had a big bungalow, which I don't have at the moment. And I look back, and now I understand why I always wanted to leave. Not because I wasn't loved, not because I wasn't treated well, but because they were always talking about the ones who are no longer around. And they were always looking forward to letters that came back from the children who were not around. So as a child, I feel that, hey, I'm here, but nobody cares about me. They only look forward to letters that come from my siblings who are not here. And they're always talking about my siblings who are away. So here I was, probably, thinking, when I'm away, they'll think about me too. Because when I'm round, I'm taken for granted. But fortunately, my father never sent me away at the age of 12. He sent me away only at the age of 18. Because I was the last one left. The home would have been too quiet without me around. And I look back, I'm thankful. Because my brother who went away at the age of 12 actually had a terrible time in college. He was put in boarding school. You know, if you ever read The Naughtiest Girl in School, those of you who read Enid Blyton would think that boarding school is fun and great. But there's another side of it. You get bullied, and especially when you're not even looking like the rest of them, you get discriminated. And it's like the one who's strongest will survive, and the ones who are not will get marginalized. So, looking back, I feel that I was glad that my parents did not send me away at the age of 12. But at that time, I didn't know. So how often in life we always think the grass on the other side is greener? Because we have so much discontentment. We're always looking for something that we don't have. And everything else we have, it's not valued. Right? So I would also, therefore, this message or this story, hopefully remind the parents who have half or some children away not to be too focused on those who are not around. Because those who are around will feel that they're second-rated. Yeah? And some of you may even have lost a loved one. And think about, or at least come to realize how much our mind is preoccupied by the one who's gone, rather than spending our time and energy on the ones who are still with us, who need our love and care much more. In fact, the one who's gone no longer needs your love and attention. But our mind is so tricky that it's the one who's gone that will preoccupy us, that will cause us to suffer and we indulge. Just as when we leave one job to another job, we realize that the new job is not as great, right, as what we thought it was going to be. We thought the last job was bad. We thought the last boss was bad. Until we got a worse boss. Because our mind will focus on the negatives. And we want to get out of the negatives. We wanted the positives to compensate for these negatives. But we don't look at all the positives until we find another job, and those positives become negatives. So it's like all over again. That's why the Ajahn Brahm story on the 2 bad bricks holds so true. We have this tendency to focus on the bad bricks. Now, what about looking after our parents? Some of you may have known that I had once placed my mother in an old folks' home. And I must admit, I tried very hard to convince myself it was a good decision. That, she had friends there, she had 5 meals a day, she had social interaction, and so on. But I also knew all that time I had guilt. That she didn't really have a choice when I put her in there. I apologized to her, because I didn't have a choice either. So when I got a new place, strangely, the decision was made for me. Because the thought was, do I bring her back or do I leave her there? Lo and behold, the old folks' home writes me a letter in September and said, November 1st, we're closing down. Have you heard of old folks' home closing down? Some strange things that happened in my life, I tell you. This was one of them. It says, please arrange to move your mother to another home. And this is a whole list of homes. One thing I cannot understand, a Buddhist-run home gives me a whole list of alternative homes, and not one is a Buddhist home. That one story aside. So I brought her back, thinking she'll be happy. But I hardly see her smile. So, once again, I'm so bewildered. Is she happier or not happier living with the daughter? Is it a case that she's very disorientated? I mean, she is 87. Is she happy inside and not expressing it? Or now she's missing her friends? Because she got used to being with those friends for 5 years. But when she was there, she was probably always thinking about me and my other siblings who live overseas. because it's like when I go there and then people say, hey, you didn't come last week, huh? And I say, yeah, very sorry I didn't come last week, and then I would feel guilty not going every week to see her. But I can't manage her mind. But all this is very revealing to how, if we don't know how to be happy, it does not matter what we have in life, we will not be happy. Really. So, anyway, she came back. And before I managed to get a helper, I bathed her. And I tell you, it was like as though, I understood why Prince Siddhartha wanted to go and seek the truth under the Bodhi tree when he saw old age, sickness and death. I've never bathed my mother, but when I bathed her that day, I was so shocked by how a body can degenerate to that state, where the skin just folds and it's like cloth. Have you ever seen an old person's body? Maybe it doesn't hit you at home so much if you go to hospital and just see an old person lying there. But when it's your own mother or your own somebody close to you, it's almost like when you see somebody dying and how they just degenerate. And maybe it's not when you see them every day, because when you see someone every day, you don't see it for what it is. When you haven't seen your friend for 5 years and you see, then you walk away and say, wow, she's aged. Huh? But actually, we've all aged. We all age every day. But because we see ourselves in the mirror every day, we don't actually see it. But when you take an old picture and you look at it, oh my gosh, you mean I look so young before? So now whenever you take a picture, smile. Because you know what? This is the youngest moment you ever be. There isn't another younger moment already. This is it. The youngest moment captured on film, on Facebook, whatever. Okay? So it's like you haven't seen a loved one, a relative, a friend, and then you know that they are dying, and then you go and see them, you get a shock. Because your mind wasn't prepared for it. And that's when it made me realize that now I know why Prince Siddhartha said, okay guys, this shall be my last birth. I've had it. I'm not going to go through sickness, death, and rebirth again. No more. I just came back from retreat. Like Ajahn Brahm said, are you guys serious? Huh? You still want to be reborn again next life? Of course, he didn't say it with a Chinese accent. Huh? You want to be reborn again? Wear nappies? Go into kindergarten? Be smacked by your parents? And then have to learn all your ABCs again? Then go to school again? Then go to all the exams and over and over again? And that really hit me. Seeing old age, sickness. And I think what was even more frightening is that, my gosh, one day I'm going to look like that. That my body will also degenerate just like what I've seen before my eyes. That's the reality. That letting go is painful. Letting go of youthfulness. Letting go of a healthy body. And that is why we have midlife crisis. When we suddenly realize we are 40, 45, half our life, more than half is gone. What we have achieved, Okay, now we got a home, we got a car, got a spouse, got kids. What next? See, when you're young, you're in your 20s, you are preoccupied. Must find partner. Because why? Expectation, you must get married. Then, you find partner, then the expectation is you must have kids. Then you have kids. When you have kids, you have no time to think about anything else. You're going to be preoccupied until they get about 14, 15, then they become more independent of you. That's when your midlife crisis begins. I'm no longer needed. You ask your kids, come, let's go for dinner. No, thanks. Come, let's go holiday. Where are you going? Cambodia. No, thanks. Where do you want to go? US. Voila, US. 17 hours on the plane, can torture your back, and then go there, spend a heaps of money. What do? Go theme park. Then, by then, our bones are already painful, muscles ache, go theme park. Wow, I tell you, I brought my kids to Brisbane last New Year. They said, come mom, let's go for the ride. Trying to be with it. Go for this one ride. My head spun like anything. I came down, I sat 1 hour just to recover from that one ride. It's like, okay, game over. Your go. I don't know whether you've been in a dream world. It is no dream. As far as concerned, it was a nightmare world. I sat there to try to regain my composure. Anyway, the whole ride, I kept my eyes closed so I won't throw up. And they went on it 10 times. I'm not joking. I was like, what's the difference between a young mind and an old mind? How come their brain doesn't smash out like mine? Sat there and there's blasting music. If you can call it music. I remember my parents once said to me, how can you listen to that music? It's not even music. You know, music is like, que sera, sera, you know. And then when I was young, I was like, que sera, sera. Wow, so boring, right? So those days it's Boney M and all that. Now Boney M is tame. Madonna, tame. Now I don't know what kind of music, rap and all that stuff. This blaring music. I had to drag myself. I felt like a whole kilometer walk to find a silent corner, which it was in the visitor center. Just so that I could recover. So you see, that's when you have midlife crisis. You realize that your kids don't really need you anymore. They rather be with their siblings or with their friends doing things they enjoy. And this is when I came with a new revelation. You know, in life, when you suffer, your wisdom arises. It's true. And the new revelation was, your kids need you less than you want them as they get older. And then I thought, same, right? I needed my parents less than they wanted me. Whenever they said, hey, you want to go out and do this? No, thanks, Mom. Or I said, who's going? Yeah, all old people don't want to go. Right? Remember in those days, they said, come, let's go Genting. Can I call my cousin along? No. And then I don't want to go. But all they wanted was to spend time with me. But I couldn't understand that. So then they knew next time, want to go Genting Highlands? Who else going? Can my cousin come along? Yes. Call cousin. Coming? Yeah. Okay, going. Go with Mom and Dad? Forget it. So we were once there. But of course, we don't realize it. What pain we caused our parents with our no, not interested. So now our parents teach us. It's called karma. But lucky, We have more than just karma. It's called wisdom. Wisdom of realizing that it's just the nature of life. But nevertheless, it's painful to have to learn, to accept the truth of life, the nature of life. So now let me read you another passage of Ajahn Chah, which is called Let Others Be. Do not find fault with others. If they have behaved wrongly, there is no need to make yourself suffer. If you point out to them what is correct and they do not practice accordingly, leave it at that. When the Buddha studied with various teachers, he realized that their ways were lacking, but he did not disparage them. Studying with humility and respect, he benefited from his relationship with them, yet he realized that their systems were not complete. Still, as he had not yet become enlightened, he did not criticize or attempt to teach them. After he found enlightenment, he respectfully remembered those he had studied with and wanted to share his newfound knowledge with them. So in other words, we have to focus on our past. It's when we start realizing that maybe we will only begin to understand why people behave the way they do. So much of our suffering, after all, comes from our expectations. The biggest pain must be for a parent to lose a child to death. Or worse, to lose a child and not knowing whether the child is dead or alive because he or she has been kidnapped. You spend the rest of your life looking to see whether that could be your child. A mother especially will find it absolutely impossible to let go. So when someone loses a child, it is so devastating because it's not pre-programmed in our mind that our child will die before us. That's why we go in a state of shock. Whenever something happens to us that we're not mentally prepared for, we will go in a state of shock. And it will take time for our mind to be readjusted, to accept that something unexpected has happened. This could be even in a relationship or in a marriage. Because when two people start going out and they talk plans about marriage and having children, the expectation in the mind is really set that you're going to end up together. And then one person changes the mind, and the other person is devastated. So as Buddhists, we have to learn our mind to expect the unexpected. Then we suffer less and we're able to cope with what we term as a crisis better. When you don't have a situation, you come out in the papers that you try to kill your lover who didn't want you anymore. Please, you cannot belong to the Buddhist fellowship. Otherwise, you have a member of the Buddhist fellowship tried to kill his girlfriend by throwing her over the balcony. Right? And the reality is that things will happen not according to our programming in our mind. So let me finish my talk today with a simple path, and then you'll have a chance to share your own accounts. Traditionally, the Eightfold Path is taught with 8 steps, as in right view, right speech, right concentration, and so forth. But the true Eightfold Path is within us. 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, a tongue, and a body. These 8 doors are our entire path, and the mind is the one that walks the path. Know these doors, examine them, and all the dharmas will be revealed. The heart of the path is so simple. No need for long explanations. Give up clinging to love and hate. Just rest with things as they are. That is all I do in my own practice. Do not try to become anything. Do not make yourself into anything. Do not be a meditator. Do not become enlightened. When you sit, let it be. When you walk, let it be. Grasp at nothing. Resist nothing. Of course, there are dozens of meditation techniques to develop samadhi and many kinds of vipassana. But it all comes back to this. Just let it all be. Step over here where it's cool and out of the battle. That's the path of letting go. So those of us who still have parents, show them our gratitude. Be there for them in whatever way we can. Well, we do have a Vesak Day, Mother's Day luncheon. It's one good way of appreciating, recognizing their love. And also to bring your wife, those of you who are married, to teach children gratitude. And that's why Ajahn Brahmali's talk is not going to be on mother's love, but on celebrating the parent's love. Because the father, too, has such a huge role to play to balance the upbringing and the value system of a child. So do make a point to come to that. That's the reason why we're holding a Vesak Day, Mother's Day celebration. Because it's not in the month of June, it's Mother's Day. But otherwise, it is a parent's love that we want to highlight to children, the importance of appreciating while our parents are still alive. Okay? Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Sister Angie.